Hi, Matthew here from Sales Results. And of course, once again, we've got Tracey. Welcome, Tracey.
Hi, how are you?
Excellent indeed. Excellent. Hey, look, we were just chatting. I got an email actually from a customer who's looking to onboard a new salesperson. We started sort of trading stories. I won't say war stories, but certainly stories
Mm.
about how businesses can really facilitate that process. So today's video is called How to Set Salespeople Up for Success. And so I've got a bit of a checklist I go through with people, but you also got a bit of a process. And just want to take us through some of that thinking there, Tracey.
Well, I guess one of the things that I've found, whether I was a sales manager or a marketing manager in a company, is that when salespeople first start, new salespeople, they're just so enthusiastic. They're so full of energy and they're so full of hope. And if they can have some early wins early on, their careers just take off. Their self-esteem goes up. They just feel marvelous about themselves. They feel unstoppable. But the reverse is definitely true as well. So I feel that you have to really start your salespeople strongly, and by doing that, they're going to succeed early. So the best way to do that is give them some leads. Don't expect them to get on the phone or start, sending cold emails. Give them something that's slightly warm.
Tracey, you were telling me a story about how you were engaged as a salesperson. Just take the listeners through that.
That was a horror story. I won't mention any names, but I was hired as a salesperson years ago in an Australian software company. And after a week of exhaustive product training, I was given a sales target, and that was it. Bye, off you go. And of course, I found I was one of 10 salespeople overall. And I found after the first 3 months, salespeople were dropping off like flies because they couldn't achieve the sales targets. So in that organisation, I ended up having a fairly stern chat to the CEO, and I said, "Do you mind if I write some marketing collateral for you and put together a lead generation process for you so your salespeople will have something to work with?" Fortunately, he agreed.
It's so important that I think that one of the big keys here is we've got to make sure there's a flow of leads. You've got to show the way. You've got to walk the way and then teach the way. So this is how we do sales around here. Here are the metrics that sit against each of these key parts of the sales process. If you say this and do this at this time with this person, in a previous video we talked about timing, we know that as each step progresses along the path, we know that there's a conversion rate. Now, of course, if a new salesperson's conversion rate blows out from qualification to contract, for example, maybe that's your process. If there's a huge gap there, you know what to actually train. And if you've trained that and if you've actually walked the path yourself as the business owner or as the sales manager, you know what bits to work through, you've taken note of what you're doing, and you're actually able to go ahead and provide that training to that person. But it all starts with a lead, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but it also depends very, very heavily on having a robust sales process.
Yeah.
Because what you want to have is not just a good process for generating leads. You want a process that virtually anyone can be inducted into and expect to have exactly the same success rates, because success breeds success.
Exactly. So just a little bit of a mental checklist is there. We've got to have a flow of leads. We've got to make sure that we've got a training process. We've got a sales process. And we've got to make sure that the back end of the business can cope with the new customers. And also, it's super important, you were talking about this earlier, is helping that salesperson get their first couple of deals. Yeah.
Now, also, it's very common for technology companies, any companies really, to put on salespeople in the belief that putting on a salesperson is actually going to change the future. But I've had clients say to me, quote, "I'm so glad we didn't just put on another BDM, because that person would just keep doing what we're doing now. We're not getting the results that we want, so how will that change? I'm so glad that we put on technology to come up with a good source of good qualified leads."
That's right. If you think it's expensive to engage consultants like us, you think it's expensive to invest in marketing and invest in sales process, just think about the cost of engaging a salesperson, having them hang around for 6 months and be ineffective. And typically it's not just the cost of their wages, but also the cost of your time and any leads that do come into the business that get burned off because you haven't actually gone through a quality management process of onboarding that salesperson. The damage to a business is, I won't say irreparable, but it's pretty full on.
But in the technology space, because time is so important and your competitors are probably only just 6 months behind you, 6 months loss in terms of time is terribly important. So you, apart from the money, which the cost of the salary is only one part of it. By the time you add everything else, it ends up being about double the base salary.
At
so
least.
You're losing money and you're losing a lot of time as well. So
Exactly.
I agree with you 100% on that.
That's it. So look, there's processes you need to go through. If of course you are looking to onboard new salespeople, do have a conversation with somebody like us. Doesn't have to be us, but somebody like us that has done this for some time now. And I'm sure that we could go. Tracey, you'd be able to help the people, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Of course. All right. Well, if there's any comments, questions, or thoughts, and if you do have a topic you want to actually have us cover and talk about more in depth, I know we're covering these topics in a broad sense, but if you've got some ideas, put them in the comments below or email us, and we'd be more than happy to explore them with you further. But until next time, thanks very much. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Matt.
Bye for now.